Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Accolonn here, and of course, as always, joined by Rurikhan. Welcome back to the frozen sodium throne. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm struggling with Englando today. But yeah, this is episode 9? 10. Episode
dude,
10.
We're getting into the teens, dude. This is the big league at this point.
Now, you can catch this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, basically anywhere you get your podcast things. You can catch it anywhere there.
There's a problem with the Apple one. I don't know what the problem is there. I need to see if I can figure it out. Because my other podcast is an Apple, and I did the same steps, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't approve this one because we're a little bit too raunchy. I don't know.
It could be. All right.
We're not changing. We're not changing, though. We don't care.
Yeah, fuck that. But for now, not Apple, but anywhere else, you can find it there. So if you just want to listen, you don't really always want to listen to YouTube, you can head over there. There should be links in the description down below, thanks to Rurikhan's work. Rurikhan, how you doing, bro?
I am doing great, dude. I've been doing a lot of Months on the Rise Sunbreak content, and now we have the Dragonflight Alpha. I've waited a while before I started posting my videos because it's kind of like, a lot of creators had access to the alpha, and I was like, okay, let's let those videos propagate, because there was actually a discussion that I thought was very interesting in Bellular's podcast, which I listen to. He's like live every Friday evening, my time. And I really appreciate his discussions with Matt and stuff. And big portion of this week's podcast discussion was that apparently the videos for Dragonflight Alpha are not doing as well as he expected for a lot of creators. And I definitely noticed this because one of the first interviews that came out was the Towley interview. And I was just like, dude, I expected this to have a lot more views. Like I expected way more views in Towley's interview than what it got. And Bellular was making that point, and Bellular was also making the point that a lot of the community is just like, they don't find it as interesting when there is good news for Dragonflight as when there is bad news for Dragonflight.
Yeah. It's difficult to because I'm trying to think, because this could mean one of two things, right? The first could just be the time of the year. This is actually a very terrible time for YouTube, because usually views are down. Everything's basically down during the summer months of Europe and America because people's on holiday and all that shit. But then again, it's not the first time that we've had alpha beta stuff happen during the summer months for Europe and America, and it's always been massive. I take my own videos, for example. In the past, I would make a video about World of Warcraft, Dragonflight, or the new expansion, and it would be like instantly. Those were guaranteed 10, 15K views, like guaranteed. You knew they were going to do well. My two videos that I've done on it so far, 4K, almost 5K on each of those. So, a lot lower than what would normally be expected. So there's sort of an argument there, I think, around what that could be. Now, the immediate and perhaps the most rational approach is that people are just no longer invested in World of Warcraft. People have been burnt way too many times. And I speculated on this all the way back with the launch of BFA. When BFA was really shit, and everyone realized, so not the launch, but sort of in the middle of BFA, when we realized this is really crap, it's just not a good expansion. I asked a very simple question. I got berated on YouTube for this question. I asked, okay, so how many bad expansions does Blizzard actually have in them? So how many times can you do a bad expansion in a row before you kill the game? And I think we spoke about this 2 weeks ago, where you sort of said, I think you said you watched Asmongold, and Asmongold was making the point. Was it you, or was it during a live stream of mine? I can't remember. Everything melds together, But Asmongold sort of made the point, no, there can be as many bad expansions as they want, because Blizzard is still Blizzard, World of Warcraft is still World of Warcraft. But maybe it isn't. Maybe we are seeing the sort of end of life cycle of World of Warcraft, it's reached the point now where not even hype is enough to build hype.
I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people have kind of grown out of the hype cycle, right? So you have, for instance, the whole thing about the cycle of the expansion. I think people even call it the Ian Hazukosa cycle, which is like, you know, you have the circle and it's like, oh, at the start of every expansion, they make all the good things. Then, you know, they hype everybody up for the beta. Then during the alpha, people provide podcasts. People provide feedback, which is promptly ignored. Then they launch the game and it's a pile of crap. And it's a crap for like, you know, 2 or 3 patch cycles. Then they start improving it in order to bring out the next expansion. It definitely feels like people are recognizing that cycle more and more, and they're just not as easily hyped for the game. Like, I'll say right now, for me, I am not super hyped for Dragonflight. Like, I want to see it because I'm passionate about the IP, so I want to see it so that I can report on it, so that I can talk on it, but I am not particularly hyped about it, and the way in which they are doing this alpha cycle has me even less hyped now, because the fact they're going to reveal every single zone. They're going to reveal every single area. Even in the Taliesin interview, he like, I made a video about this yesterday, but even in the Taliesin interview, he specifically says, oh, I did all the quests. I'm now spoiled to the story of the Azure Span. And I was like, well, I mean, you know, that kind of sucks. There's already all kinds of data mining up in Wowhead, where there's all kinds of spoilers in there already talking about the entire, you know, the story of the Azure Span. And then on top of it, you know, by the time that the game comes out, people already have guides to go through that zone, which quests give the most experience, like which quests you should skip, all of that. And again, it goes back to the thing that we were talking about even before the podcast, that I do feel like it's going to be a solved game by the time that it releases, with the plans that they currently have for alpha testing, which phase 6 is just going to be the whole thing unlocked. Like, everything's unlocked, go do everything. And it's like,
like I said, I'm surprised in that, because in the WoW Crendor interview, Ian said that this is going to be a much shorter alpha beta cycle, just because they're going for a more targeted beta approach this time around. So they're going to give people very specific things that they want to see tested, but it's not going to be the full thing tested at any point in time, because that doesn't give them any feedback. So they want specific things. So, for example, this time around, they have the professions, some of the professions that's up for testing. They have the Azure Span that's up for testing, and then, of course, they have the classes. There's like the 2 or 3 classes. The Evoker class is the specific one that they really want all the testing on right now. And it seems like that's the sort of approach that they're going to be taking. Now, I don't know about the story bit of Azure Span, because I haven't seen a single bit of lore spoiler anywhere on Wowhead when it comes to the story. From what I could tell from people actually doing the tests, there are quests, but it seems to be all of the side quests. So it seems to be like the side quests that you would get in a zone. You know, even Shadowlands had this, where you'd have the main storyline, you know, the special quest markers, and then you would have the normal old school quest markers, which would be just a plethora of side quest content. That seems to be the only thing that's available, but then again, I could be completely mistaken, right? Like, and they could just have the whole story available.
From what I've seen, like, they specifically have like a summary of the story already in Wowhead. On top of it, they already spoiled like a major character that is going to be present in the game, which I think a lot of people already suspected. I mean, I'm not sure if I want to talk about spoilers in the podcast. It's like, you know, because I don't want to spoil it for people that could potentially not want to get spoiled. As a matter of fact, I already kind of did that yesterday in my video, because I was literally scrolling through Wowhead, and then I referenced this character, and somebody in my comment section just goes, "Oh wow, thanks for spoiling this in the video." And I was like, I didn't mean for that. See the problem? Do you see what the problem is? Like, it's insane. And that type of stuff I feel like is definitely a problem. And it's like the things that I've seen in terms of the story of the Zone of Azure span, like it tells me that is definitely part of the main campaign. Like, because again, one of the characters referenced in there, not the one that was spoiled, another character is a very major character, and the objectives that character has, they talk about those, and I'm like, this has to be part of the main campaign. There's not going to be a side quest to help this particular character because he's such a big member of the whole thing.
I mean, it depends, right? It depends on the kind of side quests that Blizzard is going for. Blizzard is spending a lot more time on, according to Ian, casual content and more content for the world.
Yeah.
At least according to Ian, and this was from his interview with Towley, the main storyline will take you through some of the zone, and it will give you sort of a broad overview of the story. So it will give you a broad overview of the intro of Dragonflight. What's the bare bones of this expansion going to be? And then they're focusing, at least this is now sort of piecing together multiple interviews. In the WoW Crendor interview, Ian said, this time around, they're focusing on more smaller patches. So they're not going to be doing at least from what it sounds like, they're not going to focus on the old school,
big major patch updates. Yeah.
Big major patch updates every 6 months. This time around, they're more going for smaller ones that might just be story introductions, and then this, and then that, and then this, and then that. So overall more, but at a time less.
I'm just thinking to myself, does this mean that Warrior is not going to be broken for like the first year of the expansion? Like broken in the worst imaginable way. It's like, yep, Prot Warrior is just straight up not viable for Mythic Plus. Yeah, you can forget about that. Also straight up not viable for rating unless you're running a super casual group. Like nobody who's serious about rating is going to be like, oh yeah, a Prot Warrior. That's exactly what we need, bro. Maybe it's like, hey, since you're doing smaller patch cycles, fix my class. Can you fix my class, Ian? Thanks.
I mean, I will say, the class thing always bothers me because that's not even... Blizzard have done balancing patches in between patches before, They've done balancing passes where they'll rebalance something if something is completely broken. So that to me is just laziness. It's unforgivable that you have a class that's broken for even, I want to say 3 months is too long.
Yep.
If a class is broken and it's not operating or it's not functioning, it should be fixed immediately because there are people that want to play that class, and it's not okay to say, well, we have all these other classes that you can try out. Well, what if I don't want to fucking play the other classes? I want to play this class.
It's not a hero class. The hero classes are the only ones that matter.
Well, technically speaking, and this is from Blizzard themselves, at the launch of Shadowlands, the only hero class that currently exists in World of Warcraft is Drakthir. Demon or DKs were relegated from the hero class spectrum to just a normal class now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they basically opened DKs up so that your allied races can be DKs and stuff as well. They said, okay, never mind. It's now a normal class.
DKs are going to get a downgrade.
I mean, it's still, I don't know what it is. It might be difficult for Blizzard in some ways. That's where the new talents may help a little because there's a lot more that you can balance now. There's also seemingly a lot more build paths available. So, if Warrior is, say, struggling with AoE tanking, there are specific talents that they can buff now that will only really affect the AoE tanking.
Now listen,
right? It's not going to affect anything else.
Warrior's fantastic at AoE tanking. At fantastic grabbing aggro, dealing damage, amazing. You know what Warrior sucks at?
Yeah, but I mean...
surviving all that.
No, but even... Okay, so let's
I can grab the aggro just fine, then I die.
But let's go with survival, right? What Blizzard can absolutely do here is, because of the new talent system. Now, this is massive copium. Let's just be real, because all of this is dependent on Blizzard actually doing this.
Yeah.
But it is now possible for Blizzard to go, right, we can buff every single one of the survival talents that a warrior can possibly take. Why? Because they can't take all of them. They'll have to make a choice between some of them. They can't just run 7 of them, off the bat. Is that a challenge? Well, it is going to be a challenge if you sort of looked at how when Balila was sort of building out the Evoker, right? There's like breakpoints in your talent tree where you have to spend X amount of points before you can continue down. So they could literally just take the most powerful survival abilities, put them in the final tier of the talent tree, and then you can buff them as much as you want, because if there's 4 in the bottom tier, you're not going to be able to take all 4. You have a limited amount of talent points, and you can only choose 2. So you can make them as strong or as weak as possible, depending on what the class requires. I don't know how that's not something they could have done in the past fucking anyways, right? Because I mean, okay, so now they have more abilities, but you can still just buff 1 or 2 of those. So
but it
does seem like Blizzard just struggles with class balance.
If you want some like weapons grade hopium, then you can always just think, hey, they did just get 100 people from a PvP game called Spellbreak. Maybe those people will be a little bit better at balancing classes. Who knows?
Yeah, but those people aren't working on balancing classes. All of those people were brought in to do something magical in WoW that we don't know about yet.
Something magical.
Well, that's what they said. That was literally their words. Is they decided to join WoW because there's some magical thing that they're going to be working on, and they can't wait for us to see what it is that they're working on. All right, fuck. I don't know what that could be, right? That could be literally anything. Who knows?
Well, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like I'm definitely concerned about the alpha period. And I do feel that could be also one of the reasons why a lot of people are getting less hyped, because I think a lot of people saw what happened with, for instance, New World, which was, with the beta. Josh Strife Hayes even made a video saying, New World was a solved game by the time it came out. Everybody knew exactly what they had to do. Well, not everybody. Like I went in blind and I had a blast for like 30 levels or so. But then the game just kind of died for me because the people in my server were like omega friggin' tryhards. Like everybody was just going mega hard. They knew the stuff from the beta, and I was like, I want to transfer to a free server. Not a free. I want to transfer to a more like beginner-friendly server because I just want to be in a game that is not as meta-driven as my server was at the time. And they promised that they were going to enable that, and they, strung us along for like 3 weeks. At which point the game was beyond dead, and by the time they enabled, the transfers, they also made the biggest economic bungle that you could possibly do. Because people could dupe gold and do all of this crazy stuff with the bugs that they had with server transfers. But anyways, that's kind of like besides the point, right? It's like the point is the game was solved, and that was I felt it was a big reason why it was boring. Like one of the really cool things about Endwalker when it released, it wasn't solved. Like the way that they did the media tour, people were able to roam 2 of the zones, but those zones had no minions on them. There was like, here's some training dummies. You can hit the training dummies if you want to test out your class. There is one dungeon that you can do, which was the first dungeon in the game. Yeah. That was it. Test out the classes and the training dummies, and then go do the dungeon, and then you're done. And that was it. That was the media tour. And that is the level of testing that I think is acceptable when it comes to an MMO. Like right now, people already know where the monster spawns are. Because the whole place is spawned with monsters. They know where some of the quests are. They just already know so much about each of these zones. And not to mention, like, they have the whole zone. They explored the whole zone. And it's like, it's the same thing as, imagine, for instance, right, you're back in the age of discovery. Back in the day when people would go on ships. This is something Portuguese people did a lot. We enslaved other cultures because we were bastards. But let's not talk about
other cultures did that too. But
other cultures did that too. It was like, let's not talk about the terrible past of the Portuguese people. Let's just talk about the good things we did. We went out and we discovered places, right? So imagine what it'd be like. You go out on this ship and you're going to discover like a place, and you discover the place and you get there and it's just like one big metropolis already. It's one big city. It's fully built. And, you know, and the navigator just gets like, all right, I guess this place has already been discovered. It's kind of like the same feeling, right? You go in there and not everybody, but a lot of people have already seen the area. They've seen what's there. They know what to expect, and there's no surprise. And that was the thing with Endwalker, is that even though people had kind of like seen some of the areas, they hadn't seen any of the fates that were available, any of the bosses that could spawn there, any of the questing, any of the scenarios, nothing. So there was still so many surprises to be had, so many things to be discovered and explored, that you can actually have that. And this is something that even Morgan Day said in the Taliesin interview, I believe, which was he referenced the joy of discovery. And I'm like, yes, the joy of discovery. We need to have that in the game. So it's like, it doesn't make sense to me that they're going, oh yeah, we're going to just like enable all zones for testing. Like, how does that make sense?
The thing that I sort of feel stand at this point, like, it's been a problem for World of Warcraft for a really, really long time. Alpha and beta for Blizzard is just a hype cycle, right?
Yeah.
It's free publicity that they utilize to the best of their ability. It is the publicity that you have to spend no money for, because you know that there is just a litany of content creators that is chomping at the bit to make all the content on your behalf, make it look really cool, convince everyone to get in. There is a problem with that, though. And that is, once we finally get our hands on the game, well, the game's over. I was literally thinking about this the other day, talking about it during live stream. Every single time, and you can look on Twitter if you don't believe me, every single expansion, as soon as a patch launches, everyone on Twitter, it's like, okay, when's the PTR coming, Blizzard? When's the PTR coming? And it's like, dude, the fucking patch just went live, like literally hours ago, and you're already PTR watching at this point. Why? Because you've already played the fucking patch, right? The patch has been completed. It's now live for all the plebs that couldn't get into the PTR testing. But they've already been spoiled because you spoiled everyone. Yep. Now everyone's just waiting for the next cycle of the PTR so that they can get really hyped about the next big thing that's coming in WoW, so that they could ruin the game for themselves, so that, you know, they can wait again for the PTR to go live. It is not healthy for the game overall. What would be healthy is if Blizzard actually respected their own story, if Blizzard actually respected their own time, and actually said, look, we want this game to feel new. We want this game to feel like this is a great new expansion. And the only way that can happen is if people haven't already seen the fucking expansion when it goes live, right?
Yeah. I think one way of Blizzard keeping this hype cycle, like you said, because like everybody's super excited to make content about it and all of that stuff, is basically they need to NDA the alphas, and I think that would be a much more sensible thing. And I think that here's the interesting part. I think even a majority of content creators would probably agree. Like, you know, maybe not, who knows? But I think even they would agree if Blizzard would just be like, okay, you can play this for however long you want, but then you can put up 20 minutes of gameplay. And in those 20 minutes, you know, we want that to be edited. Like, some people might be like, wow, that's a lot of restrictions. No, this is standard NDA stuff, because I work with this type of stuff in my other channel. This is standard NDA. They'll ask you to editorialize the footage. It's like, we don't want you to just post 20 minutes of sequential gameplay. We want you to editorialize this stuff so that, you know, you don't spoil the game for everybody else that's going to come in after. I find it interesting that a lot of people in the industry, they are more concerned about spoiling stories in single player games, where one could argue like it's very easy to go in blind. because there's no effect that somebody already knows the story. If it's just a single player game, right? You can just like, okay, I'm going to ignore that this person already knows the story. In an MMO, it changes the whole dynamic because players are going to, obviously hyper optimize their routes and stuff. And people are like, that doesn't affect you. Yes, it does. Because, if you try to play the auction house at all, forget about it, dude. You can't go in blind if you want to play the auction house. You can't. People already have the routes to get the best possible resources. They're going to be farming that stuff day one. Like, they're going to be camping out the nodes. They're going to have one alt in each node, just logging out, picking up the thing, logging into another character, picking up the thing. Is like, that's the level of optimization you're talking about when it comes to World of Warcraft, because it is an industry. Like, this is not just a video game. It is an industry. A lot of people make their living around this video game, particularly because of the WoW token, obviously, because, Blizzard had to go ahead and do the whole WoW token thing, but whatever.
Yeah. But I think, to bring it back to the original point, because we agree on this, I would... This is why it made me so happy when Ian said to Crandor, this is going to be a much more targeted beta and alpha. We want very specific things tested, and then we're done. And then, in the Taliesin interview, he basically goes, yeah, we've done everything. Everything's great, and everyone's going to be able to test everything, and it's going to be beautiful. So it's clear that the targeted beta testing is much more a case of, here is everything, but here is the things that we want you to specifically focus on. I think it would have been much better to have beta open and close. So, for example, have alpha open for 3 days with very specific things that you want tested, right? Let people taste for 3 days, and then it goes down.
To be honest, I think that Blizzard should implement, and again, I have to bring up 14, but just because it's such an easy comparison to make, they should adopt the media tour model that they do, where it's like you don't actually have access to the game files. It's like a remote thing. You remote into a session, and then you stream it and you play it as a stream thing. Because what would that stop? That would stop data mining. Just like stream, you can't data mine. It's a stream. You get nothing.
Yeah, but the truth is, Blizzard could stop data mining simply by making it illegal. Because technically speaking, you can be sued for data mining if the company says you're not allowed to data mine.
That's never going to happen. Like, look, Blizzard said you can't real money transaction, and that happens all the time too. So it's like, who cares, right? Data mining is going to happen just as well. It's like you can't stop data mining if you give people access to the files. You can't stop it.
But here's the thing. What you will stop is Wowhead will not data mine if they know that they could lose their licenses, and not only that, they could be sued for a lot of money, because Wowhead is actually worth a lot of money. Everyone that uses Wowhead, your data is sold on fucking mass, right? Wowhead proudly sells your data if you go on there. MMO Champion, most likely the same thing. They're not going to want to data mine because they don't want to lose their privileges, right? They don't want to lose the interviews that they get.
Yeah. You want to know where the data mines will show up? Yeah. The data mines will show up in r/WoW. It's like, look, there's no way to prevent the data mining from happening. Like, the moment people have access to the files, you can't stop it. So that's why I'm saying,
true, you're going to struggle with it.
It should be like a much more focused thing where you actually have like a Blizzard rep and I believe they do something like this. I don't know if they did something like this in WoW or not, where you could like remote in for tasks. I think they did it for Cyberpunk. They did for Cyberpunk. They did the same thing where people would remote in, play the game, and then
You see, the thing is, that's where we sort of get, because one is a media tour, the other is an alpha beta. So if Blizzard just wanted to go media tour, they could do the opt-in thing. Because for Final Fantasy, it was also a case of you have maybe an hour or two to try out the game, right? You didn't have days that you could try out the game. And it wasn't everyone at the same time. It was basically you, because it was your time to do it now.
You're given a slot, yeah.
Yeah, so that works. But we're sort of talking, or at least I'm focusing on if you want your cake and eat it too, that means Blizzard does want alphas. They do want players to test it out. The way to do it is to put everyone that get access to the alpha under NDA, and then also you control who gets access, right?
Yeah.
You're not giving access out to just random people. It's not an opt-in. It's sort of a thing of, right, we want all of these people to have access to our alpha. Now, what this immediately does is anyone that leaks the content, and Blizzard did actually do this. This was long ago. I got access to, I think, the very first classic builds. What game was this again? It was, oh my God, it was an MMO that I got access to. And the whole screen of the MMO, WildStar. Yes, I got access to the alpha, open alpha of the, well, closed alpha, but the invite alpha for WildStar, right? Way back in the day. And the entire screen was littered with a number, just sort of a watermark, right, in the back, but it's the whole screen through. So you can't remove it. It's on the screen. And it's a number. And everyone has a very unique number, which means if you leak that shit, they know exactly who fucking leaked what, because that number is everywhere, right? So they could very easily do something like that, control it a lot more. And then you don't need to like stream people in or anything like that. You can give the game files away because you know anyone that fucking breaks NDA, you have all their details, you have their mobile numbers, you have everything. So you can sue them, you can do a whole bunch of things, you can blacklist them, you can do basically whatever, right? That's something that I think Blizzard should do. That is not something that will happen with Blizzard.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, because Blizzard is desperate for hype. They're desperate to get players back into the game. What's funny is that it doesn't seem to be working. As you started this conversation with, Balila stating, the videos are just not getting views.
I mean, they're getting more views now, but it's like it was a much more slow burn at the start. And I kind of feel like, in a way, Belilar was saying that, you know, players are more hyped to talk trash about the game than to actually talk about the good things. And I'm not necessarily, I mean, of course, negativity always brings more views. That's just a fact of life. But I'm not necessarily thinking that that is the whole story. It's just the fact that a lot of players, they're like, look, bro, we get it. You guys create content around this stuff and it's whatever. But we just want to play a good game. And we don't believe that this is going to be a good game. Because, you know, Blizzard has promised a lot of things in the past. And they continuously go back on their promises. And like, for instance, oh, we can pull the ripcord. And then the ripcord never got pulled. I mean, actually, it did get pulled in like 9.2 or something like a couple of months ago. And it's like, bruh, you kept people this entire expansion with this stupid limitation. And then when everybody leaves in droves, then you're like, oh, yeah, we're going to pull the ripcord now. It's just people are just fundamentally disappointed with the direction that the game has taken. And they're not ready to become invested in the game again. Which I definitely think that you shouldn't get invested into the game at this point because this is alpha. There's always a lot of promises. I haven't even checked. This is a video that I wanted to do, but I haven't gotten around to checking. I wanted to see what the reaction to the alphas have been for the last couple of expansions, like Legion Alpha, Battle for Azeroth Alpha, and Shadowlands Alpha, because if I remember correctly, everything in Shadowlands, with the exception of a couple of things in the Maw and the Covenants, everything else, people were like super positive about. People were like, "Oh yeah, this looks like it's gonna be good if they just change this Covenant thing." And the couple of people were very positive about the alpha and the beta of the Shadowlands, and it's like, look what that turned into, right? So, and I would argue probably if we go back, it's going to be a similar situation with BFA and Legion. Everybody's always positive during the alphas.
So I've got a couple of things that I just quickly wanted to mention here before we even continue. So let's just look. Balila's first impressions about Dragonflight gets 82k views, right?
Yeah.
That's very good. That's good.
That is very good.
But his Dragonflight truly new feature is outstanding, 89k views. He's insane. I've played WoW's new Invoker class, 113k views. Why didn't Blizzard lead with this? 57k views. RIP add-ons, 67k views.
Yeah.
That is very low for the averages of Baller's channel, right? It's among the lowest performing videos for the averages on his channel. I think what's happening here, specifically what you just referred to, and I'm going to tie it to your final point in a minute. What is happening is I can see it on my own Discord. I can see it in my own comment section. People are saying positive things on my Discord about World of Warcraft, and they are getting berated by a litany of people attacking them, just being like, dude, shut the fuck up, dead game, no one gives a shit, who cares about it?
Jesus Christ.
Wait for the game to launch, wait for the game to launch, wait for the game to launch, right? It's not that people are sort of saying, fuck WoW, we don't want to talk about WoW anymore. It's more a case of the vast majority of people get so annoyed at the hype because they're going, they sort of want to say, wait a second, but we don't want hype. We want the game. We'll judge once the game goes live, because we've seen this before. We've seen this movie, right? Now, I will point out what I pointed out in a separate video last week. There is differences, major differences between Shadowlands and Dragonflight, as well as BFA and Dragonflight. In Shadowlands, in BFA, there were a lot of good things, and that's still true to this day. There were a lot of good things, but it had clear, demarcated points of weakness that would drag the entire expansion down. For Shadowlands, let's use that as the most recent example. Doesn't matter how good the zones are, doesn't matter how good the story is or isn't. If Torghast sucks, if Covenants suck, the expansion suck, right? Because those are the two major themes. If any of that sucks, the expansion breaks because everything is built around those two things. And they sucked, right?
Yeah.
Which they meant that the whole expansion gets dragged down because of these two features that suck. And during beta, those were the two features that people were complaining about. You know, those were the two features that people weren't very happy about, that people had issues with. And those were the two features that Blizzard refused to listen to. Dragonflight doesn't have any of that. There isn't a single feature in Dragonflight that you can point to and say, that sucks, the expansion sucks. Because
actually, you could argue that if dragon riding sucks, the expansion sucks.
You see, this is why I wouldn't argue that is dragon riding has no power gains, right? For someone who likes raiding, for someone who likes Mythic Plus, dragon riding has zero effect on their ability to raid or Mythic Plus, right? For someone who likes collecting stuff, dragon riding has zero effect on their ability to collect mounts and pets and stuff in the game, right?
I mean, it's going to affect stuff. It's going to affect how they traverse the world for a significant amount of time, because you're not going to be able to do regular flying.
True, but remember, you've never been able to regular fly at the beginning of an expansion.
Yeah.
So people will probably, if it really blows, it's just going to be miserable to get around. And a lot of people might just opt, if it's really fucking bad, people will just opt to use their ground mounts to go where they need to go anyways, right? And that means that Blizzard will have time to fix it. I'm not saying that it should suck for the whole expansion, right? But if it sucks at launch, Blizzard has time to fix it without it really dragging the rest of the expansion down. That was not true for Covenants, because even before you could raid, you had to interact with Covenants and conduits and all the rest of it. And that sucked, which meant even before you got to the stuff that you liked, you were forced to engage with the system that fucking blew ass, right? Which is dangerous. And technically, the one feature that you could get me on for Dragonflight would be the talent system. But then again, that is again true for every expansion, right?
It's hard to say that the talent system is going to suck when this is just kind of like, you know, a more evolved version of talents that we used to have back in like Wrath. So it's like I find it very hard. Like, the only problem that there might be with the talent system is poor balancing. That's the only thing that I could see with the talent system, because I don't see the talent system sucking, because that's one of the things that I've always said. And I remember I had friends back when I first went back to the game because like I took a break, and then when I came back to the game, like you had the new talent trees. And I remember having friends that's like, yeah, dude, it's much friendlier for new players. And I'm like, bro, nobody wants this stupid garbage. Like, what are you talking about? These talent trees are terrible. Like, what the hell is this? Oh, yeah, you pick 3 of the same thing. You pick literally 3 of the same thing. It's like, hey, would you like red, dark red, or light red? And it's like, bro, I'd like to pick another color. Can I have black? I want to have black. It's like, no, can't have that.
I think, kudos for Blizzard for trying out something new. That's a small kudos, by the way, with a fucking not even close to a capital letter.
But
they tried something new.
I'm not giving them kudos for trying something new because, like, that was an oversimplification on a mobile level, bro. That was like mobile game levels of oversimplification. Yes, I ain't giving you kudos for that.
Let me explain why, like, lowercase letter kudos for trying something new. It was an oversimplification of the classes for a very specific reason. Blizzard wanted to do something that no other game has ever really attempted to do, which is sort of modular, scalable power solutions, right? So the solution that Blizzard thought could work is, what if we did it expansion-wide? So we could go fucking nuts in a single expansion, but then it goes away at the end of the expansion. So it gives us the freedom to basically go apeshit. Now, the place where Blizzard loses points is once they realize that this isn't working, they should have changed. But they tried it again, right?
And
after
again.
It didn't work the first time.
And again.
They tried it the second time, and then it didn't work, and then they said, fuck it, 3rd time's the charm, right? Yeah, so they really wanted this to work. So
Blizzard,
if it was
Blizzard
just
was going like, hey, dude,
off,
let's try this. Didn't work. Again. It's still not working. Again.
Now, to be fair to Blizzard, Legions did work, but mainly because Legion's artifact weapons were actually incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
And it had at the beginning at least a sense of wonder, a sense of discovery, a sense of growth that sort of connected you to this artifact system. And I think that's what threw Blizzard, because they kept thinking to themselves, okay, we can't do an artifact system for every expansion. That is just way too difficult. And
then they tried doing it anyway.
So let's try and do a smaller version of the artifact weapons, right? And then suddenly that failed. Why? Because now you still have a power system, but it's a boring power system. It doesn't really mean anything. And then they tried it a different way in Shadowlands, and again, more interesting than BFA, because there's literally, yes, conduits and the Covenants were more interesting than fucking Azurite gear, but it was still not interesting enough. It still didn't do enough to really captivate the player base. And Blizzard tried something new. It failed. They kept trying. They should have quit, but they didn't. Now they're going back to what every other game does anyways, right? Be it ESO, be it Final Fantasy, be it Guild Wars 2. All of them do this. They have their talents. You spec into your talents. You gain power over time.
Not really.
This is how
when it comes to 14, this is actually a significantly differing factor from 14, because we don't have talents in 14. It's like you get what you get, and that's it.
But in 14, your gear still grows over time, right? So the over time growth of power is still there. Sure, they don't have the talents, which simplifies, in my opinion, their ability to make classes a lot more interesting, because you don't have to deal with people coming up with different builds. Everyone has the same build. You give people a lot of abilities, and they get to push buttons. But they're the gear. The point that I'm making is the idea for every MMO on the market is continuous growth, right? RPG growth. Every expansion, you'll get more powerful. Blizzard tried something new. They said, fuck it, we can't keep doing this every expansion. And for good reason. Again, I don't like being just negative, which is why a lot of people go, oh my God, this guy is sucking Blizzard dick. I'm really not. If you know my content, you will know I'm the first to stop bitching and moaning at Blizzard when they call shit. Right.
See, this is why you don't have alpha access. That's how it works.
True. Literally, I will never get alpha access because I'm fucking blacklisted by Blizzard.
Listen, you shouldn't say never. You want to know who got alpha access that really surprised me?
Yeah?
Quasi.
Yeah, but you want to know who didn't? Preach.
That is really weird that Preach didn't get alpha. Like, what is it about Blizzard and Preach? Because I even seem to remember that there was like some reference a while ago about Blizzard interviewing what they considered bad actors or whatever, and there was like a reference to Preach there, and I was like, bro, what? Y'all are crazy, man. What the hell? Preach is so incredibly passionate about the game that like, it's...
But I think that's why they're so angry at Preach. You know, Preach was the first person. Preach was kind of the golden boy of Blizzard. He was the first person ever to get an actual sit down with Ian Azikostas, which wasn't just an interview. It was an actual sit down to have a discussion for Blizzard to actually hear what the player base had to say and what the player base feared and liked and disliked. Then Preach turns around and absolutely fucking hates the game, right? He does not want to play anymore. He quits the game. He moves to Final Fantasy, all that shaz. Now, Preach has it on good authority. Someone within Blizzard informed Preach, you are so blacklisted. They will fucking never work with you again. It is done. Preach that even said that in his
that
live
is
stream.
such a huge mistake because like this is one of the things that like I said that I like to do. Like if I go on YouTube and I watch videos, one of the things that I always try to see if I can find is videos that disagree with things that I have to say.
Yeah,
and if I can engage with someone that disagrees with something that I have to say in good, like in good faith, and you actually have an interesting conversation, I feel like both sides can grow from something like that. And I feel that nobody can say that Preach acts in bad faith. I think that anybody who says that is completely and absolutely disingenuous. Preach does not act in bad faith. He's a very genuine person from what I can tell from his videos. You know, it could be fake, I don't know, but from my interpretation from Preach's videos is that he is an extremely genuine person. And it's like, he's not going to bullshit. He's going to tell you if he doesn't agree with something. And you have to be able to have a conversation with someone that does not agree with you on something. It's just that simple. And you can't be like offended, oh, I can't believe Preach said he's not going to play the game anymore. It's like, bruh.
I mean, to my mind, that's exactly the person that you want to give access to.
Exactly.
Right? Because that's the guy. If Preach turns around and makes a video saying, all right, you know what, guys? I'm going to tell you now, I fucking hated WoW Shadowlands, but this is bomb, right? I fucking love Dragonflight. This is everything I want to see. That's massive, right?
That's weird huge. Thing for me is like, I don't even think that what Preach did was that bad. Like you have Quasi literally making parody videos about World of Fruit Bowl. Like you've seen those, right? The World of Fruit Bowls videos. Those are amazing. So you have Quasi literally making that and they give him alphax. It's just weird. But like, I see that as a positive. I think it's very positive they gave Quasi access because Quasi is like extremely knowledgeable when it comes to World of Warcraft systems, and he can provide some very valuable feedback as well.
But I think it is a case of Blizzard feels personally hurt by what Preach did and the fact that Preach turned against what they consider to be them. Because Blizzard still lives in this world where they think they matter. Which they don't. Their game matters. They don't. No one gives a fuck about Blizzard. There's people that care about WoW, sure, but no one cares about Blizzard. Blizzard as a company is an empty shell for what it used to be. Literally, just still has the name.
Actually, I think it's important that is a very good point that you are making. That I think a lot of people still don't realize. Like people will see people like you or me talking about the game, or even Asmongold talking about the game, whatever. And a lot of people will be like, man, why are you guys still, worshiping Blizzard or something like that? And it's like, we don't care about Blizzard as not nearly as much as we used to anymore. We care about the IPs. We care about Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. these were, valuable IPs where we've had fantastic memories of.
Oh my God.
And it's
part
like
of my fucking life, dude. It's like the better part of my life I've played Blizzard games.
Exactly. So it's like we care about the IP more so than the company itself, because the company itself has shown itself to be spineless on more than one occasion. Oh no, I got blacklisted. Oh damn.
I mean, join the fucking club, right? We could actually change the name of this podcast to Blacklisted.
Blacklisted, yes.
That would actually be a fucking cool name for a podcast, dude. Just
Blacklisted.
Like Although you might get sued by the series Blacklist.
No, but imagine if at some point we actually got like a developer interview. It's like, oh damn, you guys sold out.
I mean, I would take it, but I would never take an interview. I would never take an interview where they ask me to send my questions in beforehand and then nitpick what I'm allowed to ask. So it's fine if you ask me, listen here, send your questions so we can see what you're going to be asking. All right, no problem. I'll send them in. Yeah. But if they then come back and say, okay, listen, you can't ask this, can't ask this, can't ask this, I'd be like, okay, never mind. Go find someone else. I'm not your fucking lapdog.
I think it's fair if they let you know, like, for instance, if they were like, oh, listen, we're not talking about this. As in, like, say, for instance, one of your questions was, I don't know, tell me something specific about this talent tree. And they're like, at this point, we're not revealing that information yet. For them to just like inform you so that you know, okay, I'll come up with a different question for that. But for them to just say, don't ask this because we don't talk about it, like that's a different topic altogether.
Okay, so I should probably just clarify in order to, yes, as you said, if it's like a spoilery question, they're like, look, we're not willing to talk about that yet. So if you ask, I'm just going to say can't talk about it yet. That's fine. But if it's a question, say, for example, so what do you say to the people that's really unhappy with the state of World of Warcraft right now? And they go, you can't ask that. I'd be like, okay, well, go find someone else to fucking ask the questions then.
Yeah.
Because that is what the people want to fucking know, right?
Exactly.
And I would like to push back as well if Ian answers bullshit. But anyways, it is what it is. I like I said at a while back, I'm more than willing to criticize Blizzard when they do shit that they shouldn't do. But I'm also of the opinion that you should be fair. And it wouldn't be fair to just say, wow, Blizzard is just fucking shit and everything they do is shit. If you don't sort of go, look, they tried something, it didn't work. They're now going back to the original RPG model. Let's see if it works. Yeah. What's more interesting is that a lot of players seems to be saying, who gives a fuck, right? It's like the player base have already given up. I think they've already been like, nah.
This is the thing, though. I feel like this is actually, and this is going to sound weird, but this is actually to World of Warcraft's advantage. The fact that the players don't care and are not getting consumed by the hype cycle, this is a good thing for World of Warcraft. Interestingly enough, because they're going to, the people that do end up going in, they're going to go in with a lot lower expectations. They're not going to be going in, oh, dude, this is going to be so great. Like, I think that is a good thing. I think that players should not be consumed by the hype. Like, I think that this is a much better way of dealing with things. Not to mention that if less people play the game, that means also less server problems early on. Like, it's just advantages all around. And I think that players shouldn't just buy into the game. I think that players should wait. Yeah. They should watch streams. They should watch gameplay videos. They should watch the content before they make the decision whether or not they want to jump into Dragonflight. And here's the thing. I don't think that they should do that just for World of Warcraft. They should do that for any game that they're like, insecure about, that they're wondering, is this really something I want to spend my hard-earned money on? Like, they should do that for all games. Like, dude, the game's still going to be there if it's good. And if it's bad, you didn't miss out on much. So
yeah. I think ultimately, I agree with you. I think lower hype is always better than high hype. So you would rather have no hype, great game, than lots of hype, shit game. Because or even mediocre game, or even good game, if you have major hype and only good game, you fucked.
Yep.
Because people's expectations, this, by the way, I still maintain to this day is one of the major reasons why Cyberpunk 2077 bombed as much as it did. Players had this idea, and this was literally CD Projekt Red's fault. In their minds, Cyberpunk was going to change video gaming forever. Forever. It was going to be the Jesus of the video game industry. And no game can do that. There's not a single game on the planet that can live up to that level of hype.
Nah, dude, there's one. There's one game. It's going to save us all, Accolonn. Here it comes. Here it comes, bro. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
There's one game. It's going to change. It's going to be the best game that your grandchildren will ever play. It's going to be Star Citizen, bro.
Okay, yes. Okay, yes, you got me. You got me. Star Citizen and Starfield actually as well. I've been reasonably informed that Starfield is going to be the game, right? Star Citizen, Starfield is, if you've ever dreamed of being in space, it's going to be space-like, you know? There's even rumors that it's going to be like 40K and then also like Mass Effect and like everything. Like all of the games that you've ever wanted to play is going to be Starfield.
Starfield?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be everything, bro. Like, I've been told. These games are going to bomb too. Right?
Oh, yeah, dude.
They're going to bomb.
Listen, Star Citizen, you want to know why Star Citizen's never going to bomb? Because it's never going to launch.
True. I mean, look,
why would you launch a game that's making so much money? I would never like if I was in charge. Listen, if the purpose is to profit, if I was in charge of it, I'm like, bro, we are never releasing this game. Forget about it. Look at listen, print me another poster of another spaceship. I'm gonna sell that bitch for $100K. Watch me.
Dude, the funny thing is, it doesn't matter what Star Citizen does. It doesn't matter, even if it comes out and it is a good, decent game. It's going to bomb.
Oh, yeah.
It is going to bomb. The expectations are too fucking high. Right? It's just too high. There's no way that anything can live up to the level of hype that game have created. And the developers right now are riding it high, right? They think to themselves, oh my God, we're going to have all these pre-orders. People are going to fucking love this game. And they're going to get ripped to shreds because they did not control the
smell of their own
hype.
farts, dude. Their smell of their own farts. They're like, oh, man, we're so good.
Cyberpunk's biggest mistake was bringing out Keanu Reeves at Xbox, the Xbox Gamescom fiasco, right? Bringing out Keanu Reeves just launched that game into nuclear orbit.
But Accolonn,
it was never going to do anything.
You're breathtaking. The Keanu Reeves.
As great as that line was, right?
So good.
As great as that fucking line was. And I'm taking nothing away from Keanu Reeves here. The dude's
Keanu Reeves
awesome.
Is awesome, yeah, for sure.
But no game can live up to what the hype was after that. And players don't temper their expectations. So I think you're right. For World of Warcraft, this could be a major victory.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is currently almost zero hype for the game. More and more players are incredibly sort of playing footsie with that hype line. Most of the comments on my videos are people going, I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah, it's all right. You know, we'll see how it goes. And I think that is just because people have been burnt one too many times. People have realized that this is just part of Blizzard's modus operandi, right? They go into a new alpha season. They have all these interviews. They put out all this information, and the game just looks absolutely incredible. And then the game launches, and it just doesn't do much. This time around, if the game launches and it's solid, it's going to slowly over time rebuild its audience, probably start bringing in new players, and it will end really strong. You know, it'll have that end that everyone's been waiting for. What's interesting is if you track the most successful expansion for Blizzard. I think the one that put World of Warcraft on the map, that was Wrath of the Lich King. And it launched at reasonably great numbers, but it wasn't until in its launch that it finally peaked up to about 12 million players. So it had that build to get to its peak. Previously, every expansion peaks and then nosedives. Subsequently.
I think that if you look at a lot of the expansions, like recently, if you look, for instance, like just at the last 3 expansions, I think would be Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the only one of those that I would say had kind of like a solid foundation is obviously Legion, because the artifact weapons was something that players were ready to invest time into, because like, oh, these are these mythical weapons, even though some classes got weapons that were more mythical than others. But
yes, this is true.
But you know, like it was definitely a point at which, okay, this is a solid foundation to build on, and then the patches would just have to go on and do something better. Whereas if you look at BFA, is like, for starters, even from a story standpoint, I don't think the story of BFA was particularly interesting, personally.
There were interesting things.
Yeah, there were interesting moments there, because, like, to me, what was appealing when it came to BFA was the fact that, oh, we're going to take it back to Horde versus Alliance and all of that stuff. But then it turns out, okay, that's actually not what we're doing at all. It's just like, whatever. So that was interesting. But then, you know, even from a story standpoint, it was like, And then on top of it, you have the system, which is Azerite gear, which is just like complete deck of cards folded like a lawn chair. Terrible. And then you have Shadowlands, which the story's abysmal. It's like, listen, story in Shadowlands is so bad that the new player experience leads them to BFA. Okay. That's what you need to know about that. All right. Shadowlands story is so bad. They don't even want new players to play that. But, you know, the whole thing. So the story was bad. And then on top of it, the systems, again, folded like a lawn chair. It's like, the stuff that came with 9.1 or 9.105, I don't know, the domination. Nobody even engaged with that almost. Like, almost nobody engaged with that system at all. People were like, what the hell is this bullshit, bro? That thing lasted like 1 patch. Imagine the development time it took for them to do that. And again, folded like a lawn chair. Mm-hmm. If Dragonflight is solid from the point of dragon riding and talents, if these 2 things, they don't have to be amazing. If they are solid, that at least gives them a foundation that they can build on, that is not going to fold like a goddamn lawn chair like all of the other expansions.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dragonflight is well positioned right now. Dragon riding looks really fun. There's a couple of things missing still. You know, some of the animations look a bit chunky, and it's not as smooth as it could be. But that hopefully will get fixed. It looks like a really fun system right now. The world looks really cool. The Azure Span, at least, looks really cool. The story could be amazing. It's all going to depend on how Blizzard approaches this. There's a lot more customization options for people that actually care about that kind of stuff. So I think all in all, the expansion is well positioned to have a slow launch. It's gonna build over time, slowly but surely, and hopefully eventually it'll gain enough speed to where players actually are willing to come back and give it another go. The biggest fear here, of course, is that the slow launch scares Blizzard, and Blizzard sort of goes, "Fuck, okay, borrow power, quick." Clearly, borrow power was good. At least it brought people in.
And it kept people engaged.
Yeah, at least it kept people engaged. Hopefully, they double down on this one, and they sort of go, right, they need to realize that it's up to them to win back the trust from the player base. It was nice to see Ian actually admit to Tali that they made a mistake with the raid, that they failed in the raid, and that they're not going to do the hardcore raids anymore. You know, that was nice. It was a nice touch to see Blizzard actually admitting, hey, yeah, all right, we fucked up. Sorry about that. That's for a lot of players, too little, too late. But then again, I must admit, all of these players that sort of go, yeah, I'm just never playing WoW, fuck that. Bullshit. You're gonna play it, right? You're gonna fucking play it. You're saying now, I will never buy that game, fuck that game, WoW's dead to me. If 2 months after launch, everyone is talking about how fucking brilliant Dragonflight is, you will be buying it and you will be playing it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not sure about that. And the reason I'm saying why I don't know if a lot of players are going to come back is because several players have already stated that they don't trust Blizzard to the point where they're not even willing to give them a chance on this expansion, even though they are willing to give them a chance on the next one if this one shows a solid track record. Which, to be honest, I think it's an extremely healthy way of looking at it, because Blizzard has had a pretty bad record for 2 expansions straight. And even, Legion, even though a lot of people consider it to be good, it was not everyone's cup of tea either. So it's like, for a lot of people, there might have even been like 4 or 5, God knows how many bad expansions that they've had. And they're just like, bro, I'm completely burned. I think it's a good idea for them to see whether or not Blizzard's going to deliver the goods in Dragonflight and then join in on the pre-patch for like the next one. I think that is a good thing overall. Obviously, that's going to cost World of Warcraft a significant, it's gonna hurt them in their wallets, and it could cause them to overcorrect and just be like, all right, look, we tried it, we did what they wanted, they didn't buy it, people still didn't come back, and now we're just gonna like whatever, manage decline, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, the reason I personally don't believe that that's gonna happen is FOMO, right? Even if it's not designed to be FOMO, if you are finding that everyone is having the time of their fucking life, you're not going to want to miss out on that, right? And so, yes, maybe right, because now it's easy. Right now it is easy for players to say, hey, I'm not coming back for this expansion. If this expansion is solid, next expansion, I'll come back. I'll give it another try. Right now it's easy because the expansion isn't out yet. Right now, you're only faced with the potential of it being good, the potential of it being bad, and the certainty that if you do buy into it right now, you have to spend $60. So it's an easy thing to say, yeah, I'm not going to buy it now, and I will wait for the next one. But if it launches and everyone is having fun, and you see people doing things that looks fun to you, you're going to be like, fuck it, okay, I'll right.
How many times have players got burned by FOMO? I don't know, man. I don't know. But there's another point in your previous argument that I also wanted to tackle, which is the whole rating situation. Like, I also thought that was a very good thing, and I actually want to make a video specifically dedicated to that, because I feel like they need to take it further. They need to not just be like, okay, we're not going to compete with these high-end guilds, because that's friggin' stupid, because a majority of the player base is not going to be, messing around in that content, and therefore, the few people that were still trying to do Mythic, they got shafted, because it's like, bro, this shit is so hard. Like, you're already in an arms race against add-ons. Now you're in an arms race against add-on developers straight up. So it's because, these Mythic teams, like when they went to do the world first race, whatever, there were 2 or 3 people on each team that were just dedicated to doing add-ons. So like straight up, their raid leader would leave voice chat, go onto a separate channel, and just be like, all right, listen, I need an add-on that does this. When the boss does this, show this thing, boom, 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 boom. And they would go out in like a couple of hours, bang out an add-on, boom, 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 boom. Everybody installs the add-on, done. And it's like, come on, bro, that's just stupid. And to be honest, here's what they should do. They should nuke those APIs. Nuke them. Get rid of them. I don't care. I don't care how many people are like, but my DBM. I don't give a fuck about your DBM, all right, bro? I don't care. I don't care that you don't know how to do a mechanic unless there's something. Like, every time that I go onto a WoW stream and I hear like the voices come up where they're like, avoid the lines, do this, and I'm just like, motherfucker, Jesus Christ, bro, come on. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this even annoys me in 14, because this also happens in 14. There's CACbot, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know what the exact name, which is a thing that'll tell you this mechanic is coming. And I was like, motherfucker, you know how to read? It says on the screen right there, the mechanic is coming, dude. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what?
So
and here's the thing. Some people might even say, "Oh, but Rurikhan, you're just doing normal raids." Like, no. I progressed not ultimate. I progressed Savage this tier. I did the entire tier in Savage. So fuck off. And I didn't use no goddamn add-ons, and nobody in my team was using add-ons.
Yeah. So I don't mind. I don't know anything about CACbot, so I'm just gonna talk in general. I don't mind add-ons that allow you to place the information in a better spot, right?
Yes.
So, for example, as a raider, as someone who used to raid very high level for a very long time in WoW, I know where my sensitive spots are on my monitor, right? So these are spots that if something happens there, I am going to pay attention to whatever the fuck is happening there. And I also know where the spots are that I'm not going to be paying attention to. Coincidentally, most of the spots where I will never really pay attention to is in fucking chat, right? So if a message comes out in chat saying, this is coming, I would never fucking see that. But if I put it to specifically my right side of my character, I notice that very, very quickly. And if it's just information, so for example, if it's something that tells you, right, this is coming in 10 seconds, something that the game already tells you, you already know that it is happening, that's fine, right? It just allows you to move it somewhere else. Where I have a problem is when that thing then also tells you how to deal with it. So the thing tells you to spread in 5 seconds because this is happening in 10 seconds. That's a thing of, wait a second, no. It's okay to know that this thing is coming. It's a whole different thing that you're now also telling me how to fucking deal with the thing that's coming, right? Because I should spread when I see the thing coming. So, this is coming, I should probably spread.
The way that I look at situations like that is like, look, it just needs to be better communicated from a raid perspective. So it's just like the raid itself needs to communicate it in a way that everybody knows when it's coming. So like either that is the boss screams out and boss is like, oh, I'm channeling my power. And then, okay, this means that the massive AoE is coming, or, this means everybody's going to get hit by an AoE and we need to spread. It's like, whatever. Yeah. So long as the raid properly communicates it, then this is something where 14 excels at because they communicate everything very well. And it's just a matter of you understanding how each of those things work. So that's the way that I look at it. The raid itself needs to communicate this stuff to the people and not a random add-on that's just, run away, little girl, run away. No, that's fucking bullshit, dude.
But you see, this is where I said, if the add-on just says, because in DBM, by the way, it just says run away, little girl for any sort of mechanic that can kill you. Even if you don't need to run away, right? Even if you have to stack, it will just go run away, little girl. Because it just lets you know that there is something large coming. And I don't necessarily mind the fact that it's letting you know that something large is coming, because specifically for a lot of people, so you get people that's more auditory, and then you get people that's more visual, right? Now, a game could try to do that,
tell your raid leader to scream at them. I don't care.
Yeah, but this is where I sort of, again, there's a limit to how much I like that. I feel like raid leaders should speak as little as possible. Because then people get used to the whole, the raid leader's going to tell me. Like I said, I don't mind when an add-on is simply giving you a different way of relaying information that is already available in the game. What I don't want is the add-on playing the game on your behalf or anything to that effect, right? So it shouldn't tell you to spread.
Let's put it like this. It's like it's going to be hard for them to be like, okay, we're going to allow this thing. We're not going to allow that thing. We're not going to... Like, what if you just had the choice? Okay, how about this, guys? We can just turn off the APIs and those fucking add-ons don't work anymore. What would you choose?
No, you could absolutely do that. But as Ian have said himself, the issue with that is there's a lot of API that is linked to other things in the game, right?
The other things.
Linked to, say, for example, Alv UI. Right?
Fuck LVUI.
Yeah, but Alv UI is just the UI overall. It's just the ability to make your UI look different.
I don't care.
It doesn't give you any combat information. The thing is, if you break all those APIs, you also break Alv UI, right?
Good.
But here's the problem with that. So, for example, a lot of people use weak auras. I'm sure you used to use weak auras as well.
Get rid of it too, dude, because I want to get rid of weak auras just as much as I want to get rid of BBM.
Here's the thing. I don't use weak auras.
I actually don't remember if I used weak auras the last time that I played. I don't think I did. I don't think I was using weak auras.
Yeah, but I'm trying to I'm trying to explain to you why APIs would be a fuck up. I don't use weak auras at all. Instead, the system that I use is can't remember the add-on's name now, but it puts all of your dots on top of the target's health bar. Right? So where the target's health bar is, the floating health bar on top of a target, it puts all of your dots there with a timer. So I can see how my dots are doing. I can see when I need to refresh my dots. So I don't have weak auras on the side here showing me all of my dots, because I find it easier just because I'm looking at the target anyways. I can just see my dots there and when to refresh them. If you break the API for dot tracking, for example, because you're going to need to do that if you want to disable combat UI, now I can't see my dots anymore on the target, right?
Should be a function of the base UI.
It could be, but
we're
talking about just me.
Should be. It should
but
be.
We're talking about just me.
No, but like,
what about say 500 people maybe having different things? So one person likes the stuff below the health bar. Other people like it above the health bar. Some people like it on the side of the health bar. All of that needs to be coded into the game. You're talking about years of coding just to get the UI in such a space where everyone likes
people have been spoiled for choice for far too long in World of Warcraft. I'm gonna be real. Like add-ons.
Yeah.
Add-ons have been a crutch that Blizzard has leaned on for far too long. Blizzard just go like, okay, we're going to do a quick research group and we're going to see where's the best place to put it. On the bar, below the bar, top of the bar, side of the bar. And they do this test with a group of people, let's say like 10,000, 30,000 players. They showed them the 3 images. The majority wins. Boom. It's below the bar. Boom. Done. It's over. That's where the dots go. This is where your dots go. Deal with it.
But I think there's easier ways to deal with it without removing choice, because I'm all for choice. I think people should have as much freedom as possible to play the game the way that they want to play it. And I think Final Fantasy does a good job of that. You have in Final Fantasy incredible mods that will do incredible things, but they are technically all illegal. You're technically not allowed to have any of them. Now, Final Fantasy has a couple of severe limitations in how the game was originally built, insofar as there's a lot of things in Final Fantasy that actually happens client-side that in a lot of other games happens server-side. So in World of Warcraft, for example, if you're running an add-on, there's a very good chance that Blizzard knows what kind of add-on you're running, right? For very specific things, they will know you are running this add-on, mainly because add-ons have the ability to speak to one another, which means that it is built into the server, right? There's something that's happening server-side, and this is how the add-ons are communicating with each other. Whereas in Final Fantasy, that is harder to do because most of it is client-side. So Blizzard could absolutely just make add-ons illegal, certain ones that they don't want, without nuking the APIs. But I am with you that I think, because if you go to World of Warcraft, I've never been to Overwolf, but back in the day when it used to be CurseForge, and even after that Origin, and then the Twitch one for a while, fucking weird, but the Twitch app, right? If you go on there, there's thousands of add-ons. That's too many. You don't need that many, right? Most of those can be nuked and should be nuked because there are too many add-ons. I do agree with you there.
Here's where I'm coming from. Like, I'm all for choice as well. I don't want people to think, oh, he just wants like nobody to have choice in the way for UI customizability. I'm all for that. Yeah, sure. Customize your UI any way that you want. The problem is the moment that your UI customization requires the game to relay combat information to add-ons, that's where I draw the line. It's like, I would rather nuke your entire choice than to pass the combat information that is being passed to DBM, to weak auras, to all of that stuff, because it makes piss poor raid encounters. It's just that simple. And it's like, I didn't used to have this opinion before I had a term of comparison. Like, I would look to World of Warcraft raiding and I was like, dude, this is fucking amazing. This is the best thing. And I think that a lot of people still look at World of Warcraft without having a term of comparison. They look at World of Warcraft and they think, dude, these are the best raids ever made. And if those people were to try out a raid in 14 where stuff is communicated to you properly, where you don't need an add-on, you'd be like, wait a second, things could be different. It doesn't need to have all of this bullshit on my screen if the boss simply communicates the abilities that it is doing properly. If something happens and I know, oh, I died because I failed this mechanic, as opposed to you dying and being like, I don't know, man, I fucking died. Like, my health was full and then it was empty. It is like, I don't know. And people are like, okay, well, install DBM. And then you get the little run away, little girl. Ah, that's what killed me. It's like, no. The bosses need to communicate this stuff themselves. And particularly when you have Ian saying, we're not going to go on an arms race against the top guilds, I want to hear Ian say, we're not going to go on an arms race against add-ons either. We're just going to remove the information from the add-ons and fuck them.
Well, he did say to Asmongold that it is something they're looking at. So the example that I will use for the perfect add-on versus too far, DBM right now, if you're a tank, it will tell you that pulverizing smash is coming. But then it will tell you exactly when to pop your cooldown. So it will literally tell you 3 seconds before it happens, pop this cooldown now, right? It doesn't tell you exactly what ability to pop.
Listen,
but why you have a cooldown, you pop the cooldown.
Why doesn't it press the button for me while it's just press the fucking button?
But that's the thing, right? That is where I say it goes too far. If all it was doing was saying pulverizing smash soon, all right. Yeah, fine. How are you going to deal with that? Do you even know what the fuck pulverizing smash is?
But here's the thing, though. Why does the add-on have to tell you that pulverizing smash is coming?
No, it doesn't have to. But this is the thing.
How do you know? How do you know from the raid?
Yeah, but here's the thing. So a lot of people like listening to music while they're playing. Some people don't like the game sounds being on.
I don't give a fuck.
Because for a lot of people, it is. Well, here's where we sort of get into accessibility issues. Where you do get people that, for example...
Here's the thing. Like, if you're listening to music, that's not an accessibility issue.
No, but it could be. So for a lot of people, actually, I had a friend who this happened to quite a lot. They would turn the game sounds off. And the main reason for that was when they were hearing all of these sort of sounds around them. So you have all the player sounds, you have your own sounds, you have the boss sounds, you have all these fucking sounds happening around you. It completely overload them. Like, they just get a headache from all these fucking game sounds around them. And they can't focus. So they would turn off everything and just have it visually available, right? So just have the visuals of what is happening. Now, Blizzard could have that, but then they would have to build in the ability to move that on your screen. So where does the boss tell you what it's going to be doing? If Blizzard can do that, I'd be fine with them nuking something like DBM as well. Because now you have the ability to have it visual only, move it to where you need to see it, have that list there available if needs be. But there is sort of that arms race of what happens if you break something that could be an accessibility feature, right? Or that some people might use as an accessibility feature. What do you do then, right? Because breaking that in the modern era, very quickly Twitter goes fucking bazonkers, right? And goes, oh my God, Blizzard hates blind people. I said, what the fuck? It was an accident, right? We didn't mean to break this, but it fucking broke. And now all the blind people don't have a fucking
there was something like
right?
that.
Or whatever.
for people, for deaf people recently with, because the priests, they speak in tongues or whatever, whenever they're in shadow form. And now and people would have like something that would read their chat for them, and then suddenly it's like, what the fuck? It's just gibberish coming through my chat. Like, what's going on? But
I do agree with you. By the way, I think overall I agree with you.
There's just a fundamental problem when too many add-ons are used in a raid. And again, this was something that I never even thought about. It's just like, to me, installing DBM, it's literally the first mod that I would install whenever I would install WoW. It's like, actually, it's not the first one. First one is Bartender. So I'd go Bartender, then DBM. Those would be the two ones that I would instantly install. Bartender.
UI, then big bucks.
I don't do LUI. But it's like, I don't need Bartender anymore. With the new UI system that is coming, that allows you to do exactly what Bartender does.
By the way.
Which is fucking very good. Yeah. So I don't need Bartender anymore. And if the raids were designed in a way where you didn't need DBM either, I think that would just be an incredible positive. The problem is DBM is taken into consideration when they're designing the raids. And not just DBM, but obviously now even worse than that is the weak core. The weak core is just...
So here's what I would say. I think is the golden rule that both of us could agree with. Whether they nuke add-ons or not, the game should be absolutely playable without any sort of back-end bullshit without installing a single add-on. So if you want to install an add-on because you want to change something, great, but that add-on should give you zero advantage or disadvantage to the player that's just playing the vanilla base game.
Playable is not a good description. The reason I say playable is not a good description is because, like, you know, you can play a game at 20 FPS. It's playable. It's not optimal. Yeah, it should be optimal. The rating experience should be optimal without add-ons. So that there should never be a situation where, you install this add-on makes things easier. Should never be the case. It should never, ever be the case. It should be like without add-ons, you need to be able to perform at an optimal level. Like, at the same level that you're performing now with DBM, you need to perform like that without add-ons.
Yeah, but you see, for me, that is playable. I don't think 20 FPS is playable. I think 20 FPS is possible, right? But it's not playable. Like, fuck that. Sure, you could probably load up Cyberpunk at 20 FPS. Are you going to be able to play Cyberpunk at 20 FPS? I would fucking say no. But, you know, I guess to each their own there. But yeah, we're having a semantical difference, I agree with you. It should be optimal. So I should be able to play at a high level, at the highest level, with the base game, zero add-ons installed. And this is what actually is the most important part of that entire sentence for me. The person that decides to use an add-on should have zero advantage over me.
Exactly.
Right? Zero. So if the add-on is simply giving you another way of relaying information, great. If the add-on gives you a way to relay more information, what the fuck? Now we have a problem, right? Because now the add-on is basically doing things that it's not supposed to be doing. A good example of this would be timers.
Yes, timers is terrible.
I don't believe timers should exist because a boss should have a queue that tells you that an ability is coming, right? Only once that queue is used should you know that this ability is coming now. And a timer negates that because the timer basically allows you to pre-plan the fight well into advance.
Here's the interesting thing, right? In 14, for instance, in the last Savage encounter of the raid, there's actually a thing that happens with timers. And, you know, there are timers, but it's not like it's not a DBM timer that's counting down on screen. What happens is, for instance, you have your 8 team members and everybody gets a debuff, but everybody gets a different time. So it's like one raid member will have 34 seconds on his debuff. The other one will have 30. The other one will have 28, something like that, right? You got them all spread out. And what this means is, that's the time it's going to take for the debuff to explode. So there's a timer, but you don't get to see all the timers. You see your timer. So you need to organize with your group to figure out, okay, when is mine? Because you can manually trigger the explosion. Because the idea is, if they all explode, it's going to fuck everything up. So what you got to do is you got to explode them at certain intervals to give the healers time to heal everybody back up in between explosions. So we all sorted out, okay, so DPS explodes 11 seconds before their timer runs out, and tanks and healers explode 6 seconds before their timer runs out, and that enables us to just have a cascade of explosions that is perfectly healable. And see, that is a way to deal with timers, but it's all communicated on an individual level through a debuff.
Yeah.
And even with the base UI, I'm able to set up like no add-ons whatsoever, but I'm able to set up conditional debuffs. These are like special debuffs that only happen every now and then. And I have like a section of my UI that just shows a big icon whenever I have a conditional debuff. And it's like, okay, that's right there. I know exactly when I have this debuff. It also shows you like when you get a vuln stack or something like that, right? I can always see in that location, it's right there. It's on the base UI. I can see what time is left on my debuff. I can see all the information that I need, and then I can make my decision. Okay, 6 seconds, I'm moving to blast my thing, boom, done. And that is a way to do it that is organic. It is through the game's UI, and you don't need no fucking just like counting down, taking up like half of your fucking screen with timers for every single ability the boss is going to do and when he's going to do it, because that is fucking absurd.
I agree with you there. On that, you and I absolutely agree. I think timers are overkill because I can tell you now, as someone, again, as a ex-Mythic Raider, knowing a minute and a half before when a certain ability is about to happen gives you the ability to pre-plan the entire fight for the next minute and a half, right? So I'm not going to use this cooldown now because in a minute and a half, I'm going to need the cooldown. That should be something that you learn throughout the fight. As you go, you learn the correct times to do certain things. It should not be something that you're focused on. You should be in the moment. You should be fighting the fucking fight, right? You shouldn't be theory crafting while you're busy fighting the fight. And so, yeah.
And let me tell you, that's one of the things that I've definitely learned through the progression of doing this Savage tier, again, without add-ons, without anything, is that it became much more organic when I would use my cooldowns because I was learning the fight as it was happening. I didn't straight up have from the baseline a timer that was telling me, okay, this thing's happening, this thing. And I realized, okay, so I'm doing my rotation here. This is going to be the time at which I use my warrior heal, for instance, because the warrior has a self-heal thing. This is the time where I use this cooldown. This is the time where I use my burst damage. And I organically figured out as I was going through the raid when to use each of those things without having an add-on tell me, burst window, incoming big damage. It's like, no, I see, demigod duo. That means that there's a big damage needs to be split between me and the other tank. Better be near the other tank with a cooldown up, boom, done. It's like the boss communicates the abilities to you, not a stupid add-on. But yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, we can talk about this.
Yeah. Forever.
Till the cows come home, because the problem is Blizzard needs to see that this is an issue. And I'm not convinced that they will. I'm not convinced about a lot of things. I'm actually a little bit, like, I was excited before the podcast started because I just saw the Crane Door interview and I was so fucking hyped for what Ian said there.
Did I kill your hype? I'm so sorry.
Well, not killed my hype. You didn't kill my hype. You just sort of took the winds out of my sails, right? Because suddenly to realize that, well, never mind. They're gonna fucking spoil the whole fucking game again.
It's like,
before it even goes live.
So here's, it's like if you wanna put like a potential good side to this, is like the way that they've described this is that every zone is going to have an end-like cycle, kind of like Zereth Mortis, through a renown type system. So if you think about the way that renown worked in Shadowlands, right? You'd go and you'd have like your weekly renown thing. I'm not sure how they're going to time get it. It's probably going to be time get it in some fashion, right? But the idea could be that considering that they time gated story elements behind it, which is something I don't like. It's something I don't like. But it could mean that as you play through each of the zones, so like people will obviously the main campaign is going to be spoiled. There's no going around that, which fucking blows. But they could have significant and interesting other stories that take place afterwards using the renown system, in these zones, which I don't think that renown is one of the things that they tested for this, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't remember seeing anybody talking about renown on the zones.
No, all of the interviews from people that's been playing so far, none of them, like all of them had questions about the renown system because they haven't been able to test it. Hopefully we don't get to test it. And again, if the intro, because according to Ian in his interview, the main storyline is the introduction to Dragonflight, right? It's the introduction of the major stories that they will be going through in Dragonflight. So it's kind of just an introduction storyline. If that's spoiled already in sort of pre-testing, that's similar to Amazon usually releasing, like 10, 20 pages out of context of a book before the book goes live. Not too bad. It gives you a general idea of what the book is going to be about. Do I want to buy it? Do I not want to buy it? And then you can decide, right? Probably not too bad. So if they do follow your idea where the renown is where the major stories happen. So the main storyline just sort of introduced you to everything that's going to be taking place. But in order to see how all of this takes place, you're actually going to have to do the renown stuff. Oh my God, yes. Now, what I can say, Ian did answer about renown. It does not appear as if there's time gating, but more skill and grind gating this time around. So we know that renown is heavily tied to dragon riding, and dragon riding is heavily tied to renown, right? In each of the different zones. Your dragon riding skill, according to Blizzard, isn't tied to a specific time, but rather to just the amount that you do it. So the more you dragon ride and the more stuff you do, the quicker you'll level up your dragon riding, the quicker you'll unlock skills, the quicker you'll get better at dragon riding. Now, if renown is tied to this in some way, shape, or form, it's weird to say tied to this, but loosely tied to this, then maybe that's renown as well. So if you do the world quests every single day, someone that just no-lifes world quests in every single zone all the time, they're going to unlock all the renown, say, in a month. And someone who does just a couple every day might take 4 months to do it. That's not technically a time gate.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
That's just an MMO grind gate, right? Yeah, and all MMOs have this.
Like,
I know people.
If it's a grind gate, I'm fine with it. Like, I mean, depending obviously on how reasonable it is, of course. But like, if it's just a grind gate, it's whatever. You can spend more time and you can do it faster.
Yeah.
But just straight up having it be like, okay, come back next week. You've done all the things. Is like that gets old really fast. Particularly when it comes to story content, there's a serious problem there because, like, especially with the way that they did. For instance, I only did the Kyrian storyline, but like, and even then, I didn't do all of it. But the fact that the Kyrian storyline revealed the villain that shows up in one of the dungeons, but you do the dungeon before she gets revealed as a villain, is like, bruh, what the fuck are you doing? What is wrong with you? But
so I will say, I don't. There are places where time gate stories make sense. Where, for example, you're preparing for a massive invasion. Obviously, that's going to take some time, right? You're not going to just find out that you're going to have to invade and then 2 minutes later you're invading. If you want to put a small time gate there, maybe bolster your forces and get some reinforcements and crap. All right, cool. I can see that time gate makes sense. The issue that I had with Shadowlands, and what I will lose my fucking mind if this is in Dragonflight, you wait a week, mandatory because you can't continue, for half an hour of content. Like, what the fuck? If you're going to make me wait a week, I want at least 3-4 hours of content. Right? I want to be no-lifing at least one night of playing on the content that you've made me wait for a week. Now, just very quickly, I wanted to say this because I can already see the comments if people watching this is anything like my community. I know people from my community watch this, so it's a good bait. MMOs cannot not have grinds. It is not possible.
Yeah.
People need to understand this. We would all love brand new content every single day logging in, but there is not enough disk space in the world to give you an MMO with new content every day to log into.
But here's the thing: grind is not a bad thing. Like a lot.
No.
I know that over the years, the grind has started having kind of like a negative connotation to it. But like, listen, I've grinded like in the last couple of weeks, probably over 200 hours of Monster Hunter, and it's like it was fun as hell.
Yeah.
The problem is when the grind is not fun, because like you can have grinds that are fun, and then you can have mod dailies, which is on the exact opposite of the spectrum. Which is it's almost like Blizzard's asking you, okay, we need you to run a marathon, and you're right. All right, I'm gonna train up. I'm gonna go run my marathon, and then on the day of running the marathon, Ian Azakostas comes in with a hammer. They sit you down and they break your kneecaps. And you're like, bro, what the fuck? And he's like, now you go run the marathon. You're like, I can't even walk. That's pretty much what the mod dailies were like. They would kneecap you, True. And then they'd tell you, now go do dailies, motherfucker. That's what you get.
True.
Unless you were a druid. If you were a druid, you could still mount up at 60% speed or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Still pretty fucking terrible.
I think it would be nice if you could get brand new content every single day.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
Grinds do have a place, and there is a lot of fun with grinds because it's mindless content for the most part.
Yeah,
and that there's a place for that in MMOs. But yes, you are absolutely correct. Grinds should almost never hamper your ability to just play the game the way that you want to play it. Which this time around it might not, because none of the grinds are actually tied to player power. So if you just want to do dungeons and raid, you're going to be able to do that, right?
Yep.
World of Warcraft is once again going to be one of those games where if you just want to raid log, you can absolutely just raid log. And I think that right there is going to be one of the major things that bring a lot of people back. Because a lot of people, myself included back in the day, I liked raiding. I didn't care for much else. I don't want to collect pets. I don't want to collect mounts. I don't give a fuck about dailies. I just want to raid. So I would log in 4 nights a week, 4 hours a day, and I'd just raid. That was fun for me. After that, I'd log out and I'd go level characters, or I would, do something else so that I could raid again. I had like 4 or 5 characters that I would raid on.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing about that. It's like it always has to do with how optional things are. See, because like, for instance, if you were to tell me that in 14, okay, your relic grind is mandatory, that would suck. And I would probably not even do that many relic grinds because like, bro, this is a massive grind. But because it's not mandatory, what I end up doing is like every now and then I'll go like, you know what? I'll chip away at a couple of progress points in this relic grind. I just feel like doing some little bit of mindless content. You go and you do it. And, with that, I have every single Paladin relic with the exception of 1. And even that 1, I'm pretty much very close to the final steps of getting it. And I just do it because, it's not mandatory. I can do it whenever I want. So like in the last month or so, I just raid logged to 14 because we've been progressing with that. I just raid log and then I go out, and there's nothing that I have to do to gain additional power in my character. Like it's all done. I have all the power that I could get, and I did it fairly fast once the stuff was available. And then it's like you just raid log if you want to, and you can also log in and do some more stuff if you want to, or you can go play another game. It's all about having the freedom to do whatever you want.
Exactly.
And I definitely hope that they embrace that same philosophy that Yoshi P has, where he goes like, hey, listen, we want you to play our game if you want to. If you want to take a break, play another game, that's fine. Chris Wilson from Path of Exile, very similar thing, where he just goes and he says, hey, come in for the new league, then pop out if you want to, then come back for the next league. Like, that is a much healthier approach to the game. And like, no, you have to log in every single day, grind every single day. There's going to be a cap every day to the amount of things that you can get, and you better be sure that you get them so that you're all caught up. Like, even right now, even though people say that Zereth Mortis is much more friendly and all of these things, if I was to log into World of Warcraft right now, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
The fuck am I supposed to do? Go to Korthia? Am I supposed to go do Zereth Mortis? Is my gear going to allow me to get into Zereth Mortis? Am I going to get murdered? Like, what can I do in the game at this point?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, I want to check out Zereth Mortis. Everybody's talking about Zereth Mortis. And I believe that it was Nixiom that went into it. And I think he had to do like 2 or 3 hours of content before he was even allowed in Zereth Mortis or something like that. And I was like, all right. Don't know about that.
The problem, and I feel like this is and I realize we're sort of veering off the MMO discussion here, but I think it's an important conversation to have nonetheless. For a long time, the AAA gaming industry have dove full frontal, right, into this idea, my game should be the only game that anyone ever plays. Things are shifting, especially with the new landscape, with more and more games coming out, with indie games showing the incredible success that you can have, with more focused games. You know, a game that it's actually built to be played whatever, and people spend hundreds of hours playing it, right? I think a lot of the gaming industry is starting to wake up to this idea, and Final Fantasy had to wake up to this idea. They didn't have a choice. They want the MMO. So they couldn't get away with we want you to only play our fucking game. This is why Elder Scrolls Online does the same thing as Final Fantasy. Guild Wars does the same thing as Final Fantasy. They know that they cannot be the only MMO because they're not the dominant MMO. So they sort of have to be this MMO that says, hey, you can play WoW, and then you can come play us for a bit, and then you can go play WoW again, you know, if that's what you want to do. It's only the sort of legacy AAA companies that still hang on to this idea of we need to be the only game in your library. If we're not the only game in your library, we have an issue. Yeah. And that's all down to this stupid engagement bullshit idea that exists in their minds, right? Everything is about engagement. And if they don't lose that soon, I fear they're going to lose more customers. World of Warcraft hype doesn't seem to be anywhere near where it should be. I want to do a quick search here, because
Are you gonna go to trends? Don't go to trends. I think WoW is still dominating MMO trends.
No. I'm not going to trends. I have more. I'm on Taliesin and Evital's channel here, and I'm again looking at the
views.
Yeah, I'm looking at the views here, and again, their interview with Morgan Day, 56k views. Drakthir customizations, 55k views.
That's actually incredible. Pretty good. That's actually pretty good because you got to consider that Taliesin and Nevital have like a third of Bellylar's subs or something like that. They're like 200-something thousand, right?
Yeah, but then look at Taliesin and Nevital's views on all of their other videos. 130, 160, 93. I mean, not so much, you know? Not so much for the last 2 Dragonflight videos. There's something weird, because Ballyla's channel did the exact same thing. So Ballyla's channel did very good on the first Dragonflight video, right? Very good on the first Dragonflight video.
I think the problem, sort of you want to know what the problem is there?
Yeah.
The problem there is the subject being discussed. And I think the fact of the matter is nobody gives a fuck about the Drakthir. Or a majority of people don't give a fuck about Drakthir, and they're showing off like the customization options. Because like one of the things that I've noticed from the community at large is that they're looking at Drakthir, they're twink scalies. They want big, muscly dragons, and Blizzard's giving them twink scalies. And it's like, look, bro, I don't even want to be a dragon. I don't give a crap about any of that stuff personally.
Yeah.
So like, I watch their first impressions. I'm not really watching the Drakthir stuff because I just don't care about it. The one thing that does bother me is that they have that sweet racial that allows them to Dragonflight in the old world. And I'm like, bruh, I just want a Dragonflight in the old world. Dragon ride in the old world is what I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll see, right? I'm not saying that the views is the be-all, end-all. But it is interesting. It's interesting to see a major part of the expansion, which is the Drakthir. I mean, it's literally a new class and race.
Are you playing a Drakthir?
No.
Well, there you go.
No, but just to be fair,
I love how there was no hesitation. It's just like, no.
Yeah, but to be
Guess
fair,
what?
though,
Me neither.
I've only ever played Warlock, and I don't give a fuck about any other race than Orc. I don't give a fuck about any other class than Warlock. It doesn't matter what Blizzard announces.
You
like
filthy
they could have
green
given
skin,
people,
man.
they could have given people beefy dragons, and I still wouldn't care. It would
No,
be like, look,
but a
it's
lot
not
of
an Orc,
people
it's
would.
not a Warlock. Who cares? Yeah, but the interesting thing is that these are usually massive hype moments for players. New classes, new races. And it doesn't seem to do anything. Dailies videos isn't about Drakthir. It's about dragon riding and Dragonflight. And they're not performing well. So the question becomes, why? What is it? Do you think, this is sort of just an interesting sort of question that links to the first topic we discussed, but do you think that it is a genuine decline in interest, or do you think it's more just right now people are just sort of
No, I think that there's
waiting?
a decline. I think that there's a decline in interest for sure. I think that people have gotten burned too many times and they're not willing to get caught up in the hype cycle. Some of the people at least, right? Not everybody, because we obviously know that a ton of people already pre-ordered and all of that stuff, but it could mean that those numbers are a little bit smaller. And there's also people probably wondering, like, what system do they have in store? What am I going to have to do? And there's the fact that people can't play the game right now. So it's like, sure, they'll watch the first impressions to get an idea, but then it's like, well, I don't want to get hyped about it. I can't play it. I don't have access to the alpha or something like that, whatever. I can't play the game right now. I don't want to get excited about it. That could be
I can actually see that.
I'm
I think for a lot of people, it is just the alpha beta hype side.
Yeah.
They are waiting.
They're just waiting to see what the final product's going to look like. But
Yeah.
I did wanted to bring up one more thing, because this is something that I'm very curious if they will ever do it. But this was on the Mr. GM interview where they were talking about time walking content and whatnot. And at some point, Ian even mentioned, like, yeah, we're also curious to see what would time walking outdoor content would look like. But they didn't know. And Mr. GM even emphasized, like, oh, time walking outdoor content, that would be really cool. And what that made me think of was Final Fantasy XIV's New Game Plus system, which is something that I really think they should try to do something, not necessarily similar, because they don't have like as linear of a storyline as they could, but to actually work on doing a linear storyline. Do you know how the New Game Plus system works in 14?
Yeah. If you're max level, you can New Game Plus.
It's not just
other
max
characters.
level. No. You're completely wrong. New Game Plus is a completely optional system.
No, if you wanted to do a different class, like if you wanted to change your job, you do New Game Plus and you level a new job.
No. You don't get any big experience for doing New Game Plus. New Game Plus is just there for people that want to experience the story again. That's it. That's what New Game Plus is. So what it does is, like, for instance, every time that you finish something, like a major milestone, it will unlock that in New Game Plus. So say, for instance, you finish your level 50 job on a Dark Knight. It will unlock the from 30 to 50 quest chain of Dark Knight, and you can go back and do that quest line all over again. And it does the same thing for the main campaigns. So, like, for instance, okay, you finished Realm Reborn. You can go back and you can experience any of the milestones of Realm Reborn, and it will reset the world for that character to the state that it was during that part of the story. So the characters that you would interact with would be there. The places that you've been to would be there, and you go and you do the story all over again if you want to experience it. And at any point, you can exit New Game Plus, and it takes you to where you are right now. And you can go back because it saves your progress on New Game Plus. So you can go back and you can continue experiencing it. So for people that skip the story, they can go back and they can re-experience the story, even if they skipped it the first time around. They can redo any quest line that has been completed. They can redo that quest. And so imagine something like that, but instead of
But you don't get XP for it.
No. At least not a significant amount as far as I'm aware. You don't get rewards, you get nothing. It's just, you want to experience the story again, go ahead and do it again. That's it.
Okay.
So I think it would be cool if they did something like this for World of Warcraft, but not necessarily for you to relive things that you've already done, but like to have a streamlined version of the World of Warcraft timeline for new players. Because I know, at least I think that you've reacted to that 14 player who went and tried to play World of Warcraft, and it was a fucking mess. He couldn't get into the story at all because you go from exile to BFA to this to that, and it's Chromie time, and dude was like, bruh, what is this? So it's like, it would be cool if there was something that would just take you through a more streamlined version of the WoW story, where you could experience like the key events that could kind of just like set up the whole world for it. Because you and me, we've played the game at its different stages, and that's why the lore means so much to us. That's why we're so attached to the IP. Whereas you grab a new player, he's not going to have any attachment to lore. He's going to start in fucking Exile's Reach or whatever. Then they're going to send him off to BFA, which is like, who cares? Then he can go do Chromie time, if he can even do Chromie time nowadays. And then they're going to send him off to the realm of death. It's like, bro, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing for a new player.
But there is an issue with that, insofar as World of Warcraft's storyline is so fractured.
Yeah.
Because so Cataclysm really broke this, because Cataclysm effectively broke vanilla, broke TBC, and broke Wrath of the Lich King. So those three expansions, the basic foundation of World of Warcraft, is broken in modern World of Warcraft. They don't matter because the world doesn't make sense. The world isn't anywhere it needs to be. So World of Warcraft would have to work probably on a new quest experience for that. So if World of Warcraft ever wanted to do a New Game Plus, they would have to build an entirely new leveling experience that maybe sends you back to specific quests that tell the specific area of the world and the specific era of that story. But then you have the problem of old school WoW, classic WoW, really didn't do a good job of telling any fucking story in the quest.
Yeah. But that's why this would take a lot of effort. But I think it is worth it if you consider that this would be the new player experience, that they could get invested into the lore. Because one of the reasons I'm always going to go back to 14 is definitely the story. I'm always going to check out what new story they come up with. Like, that's just because it's always been so goddamn good. So I'm always going to go back and check it out. World of Warcraft, the story has very little bearing on whether or not I'm not going to care that much if the Dragonflight story is good or bad, to be completely honest. Like, I'd like it to be good, but ultimately, to me, those days ended with Wrath of the Lich King. But see, this is why the story idea that I have is so good, dude. We could fix the whole thing, man. We could fix it.
Bro, I would love to fix the story for WoW. And I know exactly how they could do it as well from a technical standpoint. Like, you and I have spoken about your story and your idea before, and I love it.
We need to do that. We need to make that video.
Because it's very similar to ideas that I've had in the past, as we discussed. But technically speaking, the idea is so easy. Yep. You do it little by little. You don't try and do it all at once. You do it bit by bit. Every patch, there's another chapter of the story that comes out that tells the unified, codified story of World of Warcraft in its entirety. I think the thing that Blizzard would come back to, and the reason Blizzard would probably never do it, not that should stop anyone from ever dreaming, because, hey, what's the fucking point of making videos if we're not going to dream big? But the reason Blizzard might never come back to it is there's not enough people that care about the story. That is the sad fact. World of Warcraft as a game, the vast majority of players do not give a fuck about the story. They play the game, to collect pets, to collect mounts, to do bosses, to do Mythic Plus, to PvP. They don't care about a storyline. They don't care about what is in the storyline. This might also be why Blizzard doesn't actually care about spoiling their story in any meaningful way. Because to them, the story doesn't matter. The story is just a way for them to at least make sense of things, right? Why do you have a big-ass dragon as the final boss in this expansion? Well, because the lore said so. Versus, just because it looked cool. But technically, there are a lot of people that play World of Warcraft as if it's Monster Hunter, right? Even though it's not, there are a lot of people that play it as if it's Monster Hunter.
Yep.
They face Onyxia. They have no idea who the fuck Onyxia is or what Onyxia even does. It's just a big-ass dragon.
She's a loot pinata, that's it.
Exactly. And she's got eggs, and the eggs do things, and don't go in the eggs. It's bad. Why does she have eggs? Fuck it, who cares, right? Just don't go in them. And it's sort of like, well, I get that, and that's fine for you. You should be able to play the game the way that you want to play it, but it sucks for me as someone that actually do care who the fuck Onyxia is, and I do actually care about her eggs and why those eggs are there. But, who am I to cast judgment here?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit broken at the fact that the whole story is already done. Because that's the one bit that made me look forward to the PTR or the alpha.
It's like not the whole story's been done. Right now, we only know the Azure span. It's like Phase 2 is going to bring in another zone. Then Phase 3 is going to bring in like 2 more zones. Phase 4 will not. And then Phase 6 will have all of the zones, which means someone they can just go in on Phase 6 and do like the whole...
Yeah, but then you can play the whole fucking story, right?
Yep.
Which at that point, what's even the point?
Yeah,
then I don't have to play the game.
Again, this is my understanding from the interviews that I've seen, particularly when Taliesin just said, "Oh yeah, I did all of the quests in the zone, and now I'm pretty much spoiled to the zone." And I was like, "Oh, all right then." that kind of blows. I expected it to also be more like side quests and stuff like that, just to test it out. But in reality, like, why do you even need to test out how quests work? Like, are you really gonna fuck up the kill 10 boar quests? Come on. You've streamlined this process enough that I kind of feel like that doesn't need that much testing to begin with. So why do you even need to have the quests there? It's weird, but
it really is. I'm looking at Wowhead right now, and it really is all the chapters. Although they do say they say in the first chapter of the Azure Span questline, we're focusing on helping after fending them off, and then we have
don't spoil dude.
I mean, none of this is spoiler so far.
Yes,
this is just.
You just said the character's name.
I'm skipping everything.
I'm gonna have to censor you. You said the character's name.
Ooh, Kelagos. All right, so if you're talking about the S character, that was spoiled months ago by Ian himself and Denuser. Like,
really?
Denuser literally in an interview said Syndragosa's story, but it's not the Syndragosa that you're thinking of.
Oh my God.
Like, that was spoiled months ago. So that's why I didn't have a problem with saying Syndragosa.
Not censoring it then, screw it. That was the character that the other dude said, "Oh, you spoiled me. Could Syndragosa be in the game?" And I was like, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that.
No. Hey. Denuser fucking spoiled that. Like, in their... Remember their Twitter interview with Taliesin?
Yeah.
Yeah, the news spoke about Syndragosa there already.
All right.
That was like 2 months ago, so that doesn't even fucking matter, right?
Yeah, but see, the whole thing is pretty much there from what I can tell, which is just like, bruh, why?
It seems like it's only a synopsis, though. Why would they only have a synopsis on Wowhead, though? Because Wowhead will usually have the quest text, like, they'll have the quest text, they'll have the quest names, they'll have like everything.
They're probably still filling that information out, I would imagine, because the thing's only been live for 5 days, I think, something like that. Because people had access 2 days before it went live, and then it went live on the 14th. So it's been live for like 6 days. It's only been live for like a week. So they're probably still collating all that information to post it properly on the website, I would imagine.
It seems like they're only saying they're highlighting it for now. So there's probably going to be either that or there really is no major spoilers. And
Accolonn lost his internet.
Wait, really?
You can see and hear me.
Can you hear me now?
South African servers are failing us. I can't hear you at all. Can see you, but I can see I'm not connected to you. Can you hear me still? Oh,
okay, there we go.
There we go.
I just changed it to US East.
Why are you connecting to US East?
No, I changed it to US East because the automatic one just wouldn't connect me.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. The only hope that I have for this would be that we the intro quest line is just an introduction, like I said, right? So this isn't the major spoilers. The major spoilers is going to happen during the renowned stuff, as you said. Then okay, no problem. I can forgive that. But I am just a little annoyed at the fact that everything is again going to be fucking spoiled, and I will lose my shit. I will fucking go mental if we again get them spoiling the fucking cinematics, showing us the cinematics without sound, like half-baked fucking cinematics in the game. Because at that point, it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. You may as well just have given us a page with all of the fucking quest text ahead of time, so we can just read through it. You know, why would I need to play this game?
The problem
You're already
is
spoiling the shit out of it.
If you look at the at how much Blizzard, it's like the trailer for Dragonflight kind of shows you a bit of Blizzard's philosophy, where they basically even spoiled the little storyline of the trailer itself at the start of the trailer. Because, like, they'll show Alexstrasza swooping in and grabbing Stony Tony. Yeah. And then they show you Stony Tony falling, and you're like, well, I already know Alexstrasza's coming in to save him. Because it's like, dude, you do it even on your trailer. You can't even have a trailer without a spoiler.
It's all hype. It's because they constantly want hype. They want channels like mine, even though they fucking hate me, but they want me to make videos about how fucking cool the story is going to be. And they want me to start speculating already before the game is live, because this whets people's appetites for when the game finally goes live and seeing the stories play out. It is just bullshit. It should not be in the game. I don't know why it is even still a thing, because it annoys me that it's a thing. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. But it is what it is, guys. We're going to be calling it here. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Frozen Sodium Throne. Pretty sure there's going to be much more to talk about next week as they unlock new zones, stuff like that. Oh, yeah. We're going to find out new things. We're going to try to keep, like, story spoilers out of the podcast, kind of. But, you know. Yeah. If you browse Wowhead, it's like, it's all there.
Yeah, or if you browse my channel, because if Wowhead's going to spoil it, I'll fucking spoil it as well. Because, well, what's the point of keeping things secret? If everyone's not going to play by the same rules, there's no point for you to play by those rules. Because at that point, you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot. You know, just sort of going, well, fuck it, I'm not covering the spoilers. It's like, well, dude, they're on the internet. So, you know.
It's frustrating, guys. It's frustrating is what we're getting. Really? We were hoping that this alpha cycle was going to be different, but clearly it wasn't. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be links to all of Accolonn's stuff in the description of this video. We will see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.
Peace.